All right, guys, we're back. Pit Chatter Podcast. Coming live to you. Well, recording live. You're not listening to it live from the front stretch here at Franklin County Speedway. I'm your promoter and host, Langley Austin. With me is the best co-host of all time, Mr. Noah Hinchee.
Oh, man, you can tell we've got derailed today. But we are here, and we are back. And this is the Pit Chatter Podcast. I'm your host, Langley Austin, the real one, not this fake one over here beside of me. And I don't know, did you think you sounded like me or something there?
It sounds just like you.
It did. Well, I'm gonna listen to the podcast after we're done, and I'll tell you whether you sounded just like me.
I don't even think anybody noticed that we switched people.
Oh man, Lord Jesus, this is going to be a good one.
It's a barn burner.
We are coming off of probably our biggest weekend of the year. The Smart Modifieds were here on Friday night. Had the Sunoco Memorial Day Bash yesterday. It was wild from kind of start to finish.
I ain't gonna lie, probably my most favorite weekend since I've been here.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no races at any time were boring at all. It was just pure excitement all the way through.
You know what's crazy is Friday night. And I have to preface this because the modified people out there, you know, they're going to get a little upset when I say this. But Friday night was less exciting than Monday night overall. There was pageantry and you know, the atmosphere was different Friday night than Monday, obviously. Bigger crowd, a lot more people here in the pits, you know, all the teams here, everything. But the racing on the track was way better on Monday than it was on Friday.
Oh, if they wasn't impressed with that Stock 4 race, I don't know what's going to do it.
Yeah.
Because that might have been, you know, that's better than I've seen it in a while.
I mean, that's race of the year so far.
Yeah, oh, for sure. For sure.
If you haven't seen it, it's on our YouTube. It's on the Franklin County Speedway YouTube, so be sure to go and check it out. I'm going to share it to the Franklin County Speedway Facebook page at some point or another, and the Instagram and Twitter and X, whatever it is. And I'm sure to be on TikTok plenty of different times. Man, what a great weekend. The Foxfire Towing Kenny Minter Classic was just that. It was a classic. It was a great one. Had 23 modifieds here. 21 took the green flag. Craig Young and Jason Tutterow missed out on the green flag. Ryan Priest led early and ended up junked about down there at the Yoder's sign.
He about parked it in Victory Lane.
I mean, he come close to parking in Victory Lane.
I mean, it was close.
I don't think they had any trophies for that one.
Yeah, I don't think that's
well, actually,
the
he
Victory Lane.
did. He did have some trophies for that one, but he left them here. It was part of the car. They left quite a bit of it over here in turn number 4 where they were parked.
Souvenirs now.
Yep, for sure. I don't guess anything else happened Friday, did it?
Oh, you don't think?
No.
Nothing at all.
No.
Nothing that has a couple thousand views on Facebook.
Probably a lot more than a couple thousand if you go through all the videos. For that, though, Carson Lofton took home the win. I'm not going to call the race a snoozer. Some people would. Most modified fans would crucify me for that one. I don't care. It wasn't the race of the weekend, but it was a great race. Ryan Newman and Tommy Baldwin had a little excitement after the race. Yeah. They were effing each other. If you haven't seen the video, you'll understand the reference when you do. They definitely got on with the talking portion of it.
Oh yeah, they did. Newman got him a good shove in there. I don't know how that didn't escalate even further, but.
And you know, they're two very feisty, you know, individuals, you know, through the years of Tommy Baldwin being, you know, in the Northern Modifieds and in NASCAR, and, you know, he's been known to be pretty feisty and be willing to fight. And then, you know, Ryan Newman, I mean, you can look at that guy and tell he's ready to fight.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, they fizzled out. They only effed each other. They didn't throw any punches, but
second best altercation of the night.
Well, almost to turn 1 right here on the front straightaway. The Carolina Crate Series race kind of come unraveled. Yeah, well, it completely come unraveled and did not finish, which was an unfortunate side effect of it. I mean, it's Franklin County. You know, things happen. You know, I don't know that anybody in the fight had any moonshine, but they'd probably acted the same way if they did.
I would have loved to seen it if they did.
Yeah.
It would have been even better.
I'll you can go online and watch all the videos and stuff, but I'll tell you kind of what happened was Slate Myers had got involved in something on the track. I think spun out or whatever, and for some reason they thought they weren't going to go to the rear for that. I'm not sure why the math was working that way in their head, but anyways, they stayed on the track. Held up the show for several minutes. I think the tower was losing their patience, and I believe the officials lost their patience too. Stop and go. He went out on the track to let him know. There were some words exchanged between the two. Then Slate's dad, Burt Myers, who competed earlier in the Smart Modified race, comes out on the track, and that's where it all went bad.
Yeah, some radios were flung, punches were thrown.
Yeah, and then they get over on the other side of the guardrail, and they throw a lot more punches and kicks and bodies flying and all sorts of stuff.
It was like 3 separate fights. Darryl was making the joke that they're all old, so they needed breaks. They had to take intermissions in between the fights to catch their breath.
Yeah, and then through the course of that, so it's the Myers versus our officials, which sounds like crazy to start with, but then you got
not just officials; it escalated into the officials' friends as well.
Well, yes, it did. That's a whole nother layer there. As the promoter, I want to first say that, I hate that happened. It evolved into something that it shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's entertaining to watch as not the promoter, as Langley Austin, the guy. It's entertaining to go back and watch on social media. As the promoter, I'm not very happy with how all that came about. But I will tell you that I am extremely proud of how all of our officials had each other's backs, and there were other people here that knew them that also had their backs, and I'm proud of that, because that's when something happens, I mean that's a very important role there. Would I have preferred it? It would have just been, and that was the other layer I was about to add. The Hillbillies, ended up over there. Hillbilly Racing, David Hill, he ends up over here in the fight. So did the car owner, the 5602, which is with them. I don't remember his name. Apologize for that. But, so they end up over here in the middle. There's a fight, and then there's another fight going on within the fight.
Yep.
Fighting the same people. It was kind of crazy. But you can see all that on social media. Not our proudest moment, but there are things to take away from that. Internally we have handled what we deemed inappropriate out of that. The Carolina Crate Series will handle whatever comes about from that. That's not our quote unquote. That's not our fight. So they'll handle that. They'll take care of that. Keith Graham, I know he was pretty frustrated with how that went down. I believe. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm going to if I'm wrong. I believe they'd had some problems out of the Myers in previous events, which I understand. Bert's trying to bring his kid along, and there are frustrating moments. And racing is a very passionate sport, and I've got nothing bad to say about the Myers. I talked to Bert right after the first part of the incident happened. He told me his side of things. I told him what I thought. We moved on. We're all good. They're more than welcome back here at Franklin County Speedway anytime, and there's not a single official here that holds anything against them. There might be a few fans that might, but that's a whole nother layer for a whole nother day. So we got through all that mess on Friday. It was fun. Friday was a lot of fun. A great crowd here. I took some pictures, posted them on social media. Great crowd. Great everything about that. Was great. Great night. Place looked great on flow. Of course, I'm, very critical, so I'm looking, oh, man, I could have fixed this. I could have done this. Oh, man, this right here wasn't exactly right. Yeah. But, man, overall, everything looked great. Much improved view of the place from previous years. So we're making strides there, obviously. But good night on Friday. My free child labor, my 3 kids, they got all the trash up on Saturday before it rained. And then, got some help, all the guys here. I guess it's a good time to go ahead and bring on our guest. He's been sitting here patiently waiting to come on because he kind of had a front row seat to Friday night, and he was the star of the show on Sunday night.
He was fully involved in everything that happened here this weekend.
I don't think he threw any punches, but he was right there with them.
He almost got caught by a stray radio. I know that.
The radio was a little close.
Corey Latham's photo was epic. But our guest is Jaden Austin, driver of the 81/77 stock 4, depending on what day it is, what week it is, what's running. Got him a couple of wins on Sunday night, which we'll talk about more in detail. But let's kind of document Sunday. I'm getting on my days.
Friday.
That was a long weekend right there. Friday. We'll go through Friday's altercation. I mean, you were one of the officials. Tell us what you saw.
We had a caution for a car spun. I walked out onto the track to make sure the track was, clear. And I heard them say, go talk to the 14. Well, when I turn around, our other official, our stop-and-go official, he's made his way to the car. And I can see they're going back and forth. I don't know what was said, but about that time, Slade's father, Bert,
yeah,
I catch a glimpse of him coming across pit road. And I seen the slight little altercation, I guess you could call it, between the crate modified officials, but I kind of knew it'd probably escalate a little bit. But I seen him coming across pit road, and he looked pretty fired up, and we tried to tell him to stay back, and before you know it, they were pushing and shoving. A radio was in fact slung.
It looked like you might have been ducking in that photo. We weren't sure what you were doing there.
It was a little bit horribly timed. It looked like I got hit by something. I was just trying to get my hair out of my face so I could see where everybody was.
Radio slung at full speed from approximately 2.5 feet away.
It wasn't very far.
No,
they were pretty close to one another.
Jaden had to go Matrix on that thing right there.
It was
100%.
close. It was close.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Melee was what it was. We don't need to get too deep into that.
No.
But luckily, I don't think anybody came out too worse for the wear. I mean, I believe Daryl had a couple bruises.
There's a little sore.
And Timmy had a couple knots on his head.
Daryl allegedly got caught with I said allegedly to her. Allegedly a 3/4 wrench.
No, they said, hold on.
Or, excuse me, a 3/8 wrench.
Yeah, they said they used
that was most
3/8 wrench in
certainly
the fight.
not a 3/8 wrench.
That thing was maybe 14 times that size. I mean, it was a big old wrench.
Poor Daryl.
Yeah,
Just trying to take up for his friend. Got caught with the wrench a couple times.
I remember looking over at one point and seeing this guy just getting carried by the neck. And I was like, man, that looked like Daryl. Well, I see Josh. I'm like, oh, man, that was Daryl.
Yeah. Some extracurriculars there from, seeing their friend in it. If things happen. But, whatever. Luckily, nobody really got hurt. Nobody had to go to the hospital. No charges, nothing. Cops came. Franklin County Sheriff's deputies were here. They did a great job of de-escalating the situation and, keeping anything else from happening. We really appreciate them coming out. They usually come out, which they had just left prior to that happening because they sat here and watched. I probably ain't supposed to tell that, but they sat here and watched most of the smart modified race, so they hadn't been gone long. But those guys enjoy themselves and they enjoy a night of racing here, and we appreciate them coming out and helping us. I guess we'll move on. We'll move on to Monday. Monday night, which I'm trying to get ahead of myself here, man. I should say, Chris Lilly picked up the win in our Legends Moneta Tractor and Trailer Legends division on Friday night. Continued his winning ways on Monday night. Y'all got to keep me straight on days here. I about said Sunday again. But continued his winning ways in the first race of the Legends on Monday night, and then got beat in that second Legends race.
Hell of a race.
Oh, it was, man. Him and Ethan Troll put on a great show. Ethan Chris came from the back after the invert, and he got up there, and it looked like he was just going to pick him off and drive away. And as soon as he got by him, Ethan cut right back down, crossover move, executed it perfectly, and Chris couldn't get back to him before they got to the checkered flag.
I'll tell you what, and that was great. After we're skipping the first one, Ethan True got the black flag.
We were going to get to that
for jumping the not even restart.
It was the start of
jumping the start.
Yeah,
and obviously they were not too happy about that.
They were not, and I think I'll be honest with you. I think once they go and look at a video, they're going to go, yeah, okay. I don't know if it's the angle from the pits from where they're at. I don't know if it's, the angle where the tower is. I don't know what it is or what their expectation is, restart. I had a conversation with them after the race, and I believe Jay did too. And I think, they would have never got penalized had – I guess they've been on the same page with what our expectation is versus what they're trying to accomplish. And listen, I'm gonna say this: as a race car driver, if I'm out there, I'm jumping every start. Why not?
That's something I learned pretty quick. You try to be nice, you try to play by the rules, and all 100%. It does is leave you in the back. 100%. So you might as well put the bumper to somebody and just hammer it down.
Yeah,
but
I agree 100% on that. I mean, you've got to try to do what you've got to do, and I don't fault them in any way, but you got to understand when you get caught, just take it and move on. I mean, that's there ain't no use in having 37 conversations about it. Just take it and move on. If you want to learn from it, ask a question and learn from it. And I believe that's what they did. And I think going forward, they'll find themselves in a much better position on starts and restarts. But again, I would jump it at least the first time because you get one warning. I'd take it every time.
It looked like he jumped it a little bit less the second time.
Oh, he did. Well, 100%.
But still,
he did. And that's a. I'm not going to call it. That was a close call. The second one I think was a close call. The first one was clearly egregious, but I think the second one was a close call. It's race director's discretion as to whether he calls that or not. And I think he's just seeing a pattern there, and at some point you got to try to cut off the pattern to try to change the dynamics. So it is what it is. He rebounded to finish second. Won the second race. He was no worse for the wear. He's going to be a contender for the championship. Chris is going to miss, I believe, this weekend's race. He'll be at Shenandoah. So Ethan will be here, and I believe Scott Heath's coming back this weekend. Kyle Klingenpill's coming back this weekend. I believe Nathan Wheat's coming back this weekend. Might have an influx of some other cars coming in. So it could be a very interesting weekend in the Legends division. Man, the one-stop towing late models finally completed a race and didn't kill each other, and I don't think it was a single wreck.
I don't think it was either.
I mean, that's as a promoter, I need you to have excitement but no carnage. You know what I mean? In a division like that, so not a lot of excitement. I mean, we'll go through. Jimmy Mullins, started up front. Kyle Barnes didn't buy any tires. It was a tire buying night, so he didn't buy any tires. So he was at a disadvantage, but it didn't look like it.
No, he was hunting them down slowly but surely, and finally got to him.
Yep.
Put the bumper to him, moved them, and Jimmy tried to get him back, but he couldn't quite catch him.
Yeah.
And he was gone from there.
Yeah. And then, there's some question, afterwards about a spacer plate, Super Sucker is a tapered spacer. That's, I thought that was clear common knowledge, but I mean, just in case it ain't, it is now because I just told you. But some controversy there. Those guys don't like each other. The Barneses and the Mullins are not fans of one another in any way, shape, or form. They've played that out here a couple different times here, and Motor Mile, and Lonesome Pine, so they got a little rivalry there.
I was impressed they kept it together.
They did.
I thought after Kyle Barnes put the bumper to him that it was going to get ugly real quick.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They kept it together, and they kept it fairly clean, finished out the race. And Jimmy came up to Kyle and shook his hand and said, hey, it's just race car stuff, man. It happens.
100%. Yep. It was, and it was a great little exchange there. I wish we'd had one more caution with about 10 to go, because I think they would have got down to business then.
Oh, yeah, it would have been on from there.
Jimmy would have certainly returned the favor at that point.
Definitely.
But it is what it is. Kyle Barnes coming home with the win. Jimmy Mullins finished second. Matt Lawrence finished third. Matt's the points leader. He's continuing to rack up some points there. So, mini stocks had a little interesting day with the mini stocks. Had this blue 8 car that showed up and kind of stole the show.
I think it was the day that the mini stocks were dreading has finally come. Mr. Wesley Givens has inserted himself right into the mini stocks. And honestly, he had the job done. If it hadn't been for, I'm still not sure what happened. Carburetor.
Yeah.
He had to pull off with about 5 to go. But until then, man, he was putting them on them.
Yeah, Dennis Holdren kind of got lucky again. He got lucky the last race. He had not bought any tires the last race, and Josh Phillips and Stonewall, were outperforming him before they wrecked with one another over here with a hard wreck. And then, come back this race. Wes looks like he's in charge. Dennis thinks he's not going to win. All of a sudden, the 8 car breaks, and Dennis Holdren goes back to victory lane once again. So good to see him winning, but he probably would have rather not, because he's got to add another 50 pounds. He added 50 Saturday. He's got to add another 50 before the next race. So competition leveling out, and that's probably not a good thing as where the division is heading. He's kind of fell into a couple of wins that he probably would have rather not had.
Yeah. Honestly, what's the most impressive is that Wes barely took any laps in that car.
I think he had 9 or 10 laps.
He immediately went out there like he'd been driving that thing his whole life.
Yeah.
And just took over and stole the show, honestly.
Yep. Oh, for sure. And I think, I think, he got a reputation in the last, a couple of years ago for, being overly aggressive. And I think, some people try to use that as an excuse for, I don't know that I want to race against him. My opinion, I think they probably are more worried that he's going to wear them out.
Oh, definitely. That's for sure. I don't care what it is, what Wes gets in. It's a 4-cylinder, a damn cup car. I think he's going to put on a show, and he's going to be a front runner no matter what he gets in.
100%. No doubt about it. We run East Coast Flatheads. They had a race.
Had a rare accident.
They did. You don't see them tear up cars very often, but usually when it does, it's down here in turns 1 and 2 for some reason. And again, had another little wreck there. Nobody was hurt. Car was a little damaged. Needed a little help getting on the trailer there afterwards. But those guys always they're always fans like to see those old cars. From back in the day. No matter how those races play out. I'm sure everybody hates to see that one car get tore up there, but he'll be back to race another day. Those parts ain't easy to get, but they somehow found them.
Oh, I know. The one guy, I can't remember his name, and I feel bad about it, but he said he was 68.
Yeah.
And they stopped making the motors for them cars 2 years before he was born. So I can only imagine how hard it is to get parts for them things, but yeah, it just sucks to see that happen because those cars are so cool, and I mean,
they are.
And honestly, some of them guys, they're running them things hard for what they are.
Oh, they are 100%. I mean, like they're out there really racing. I mean, sometimes people think that they're not, because their speeds are a little different, given what they are. But I mean, like Johnny Johnson. I mean, they're racing. I mean, they're really getting after it. I mean, those are real race car drivers.
I don't know what folks expect. I mean, their cars from the 30s, the 40s.
Yeah.
They're not going to be as fast as a late model.
100%.
But they're giving her the beans. They're giving it all she has.
Different time, different deal for sure. I guess that takes us to the Stock 4 race, and our guest cleaned house. He bookended the night in the Stock 4s, won both races. First race, he had to fend off Keyshawn Clater on a late restart, and got the win. Keyshawn, of course, had won one of the last races. Then in the second race of the night, they put on a show. Jaden and Wes Givens up front, battling it out. Wes had the lead and got passed. And there's not many times we can say Wes Givens got passed for the lead in anything.
I think at this point, Jaden probably has more experience than anybody on the track battling Wes straight up.
Oh, sure. I mean, end of last year, they battled each other really hard when Wes was driving.
About every damn race, too.
Yep, 100%. And, come back this race, he wins both of them. He didn't really want to add that 50 pounds that he's got to for winning both of those on that night, but, it'll be all right.
Was it worth it?
In a way, it was, yes. Yeah.
Listen, that right there, I'm going to tell you, that right there, being able to pass Wes, especially in that manner, I mean, you guys really gave each other everything y'all had, it looked like. And being able to win over, I mean, I don't think there's anybody else here. I'm trying to think back of all the races. Josh Brown got the best of him one night.
Yep.
I don't know that anybody's ever raced him like that, that hard and actually come out on top.
Yeah, there was one point I thought for sure, that battle had came to an end. He set me off into one. A little hard. And
that video you got after the race, I mean, you were sliding through the corners there.
It was pretty great. I'm pretty sure the left rear wasn't on the ground at all when he lifted me up pretty good.
Yeah, that was an incredible race. I mean, what's it like? I mean, you know when you go to battle Wes Givens that he's got more experience. He's knows what to do in every situation. What's it like when you go to battle a guy like that?
I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking because I know he's not going to give me any slack. He's not going to race me any differently. I mean, yeah, it's his car, but he's not going to cut me any slack, and I'm going to have to work for it.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was clear he didn't cut you any slack. I mean, the incident you're talking about when he sent you, I mean, you guys, I mean, there's a lot of beat up on the side of his car now. A little bit of that came from Josh Hinchee. But most of that came between you guys.
Yeah, we got a little bit of work to do this week before we. That's adding weight and putting body parts back on the car.
Yeah, well, Wes was happy that you have to add weight because that means he gets to take off 25 pounds. So he's thrilled with that.
Yeah, his penalty weight is gone now. So
only half of it. Only half of it.
Does he still have 25?
Yeah, he's still got to keep 25 of it. I was smart enough when I wrote that rule to know that would probably happen, and we'll just take it off slower than we put it on.
Yeah, that was probably a good idea.
Yeah, well, unfortunately it affects everybody like Dennis Holdren and you and whoever else. But that was really like the Wes Givens rule there. Yeah. In that class, anyways. I mean, late models, that's the Kyle Dudley rule.
Yeah.
The moment I put that rule out in the late models, Kyle goes, really? So, I mean, it is what it is. Got anything there, Noah? Got any good questions for Jaden here?
I mean, there was a whole lot that went on.
Oh, listen, from the entire weekend.
We could do 3 podcasts on just what went on in that second Stock 4 race. I mean,
it was intense.
There was a lot.
Trying to watch, you got Jaden trying to get around Wes, but back behind them, you got Josh Hinchee and Keyshawn and Chris Lilly. And I got to give props to Chris Lilly, man. He led some of that race, started on the pole, led some of that race. And if they hadn't had a caution there, I'm not sure that he would have got past for the lead.
Yeah, he was doing real good. For a car that's really half broke. I mean, it's water. It's probably got a blown head gasket. They don't even know. Yeah. We thought it was blown up here several weeks back, and, it's run pretty good since then. So. Oh yeah, Chris Lilly's giving her the beans.
He's definitely been getting the most out of that car. I mean, doing a great job. But those guys back there were battling extremely hard. At one time, they were 3 wide. I mean, it was hard to know what to watch because Jaden and Wes had got kind of out away from them. And it was hard. You're looking in turn 1, then you got to look back over here off turn 4 as they come around. You got to see everything that's happening.
Yeah, I mean there was a whole lot going on. I was flipping back and forth. I'm mad. I need to watch the video because I didn't even really get to see half of what was going on with Jaden and Wes, and I didn't get to see half of what was going on with Josh, Keyshawn. Gary was in there.
Yeah, well, and we talk about that too.
I mean, start to finish, the whole race was exciting. I mean. Going into 3 and 4 on the first lap, 3 wide, sideways. I mean, they were getting after it early.
Yeah, and you had to come from last, from having won the first race of the night. You had to start last, shotgun on the field. Made your way up there quickly, though.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to do all that. I figured I'd have some more trouble getting through the field, but it just worked out perfectly.
Well, I think, one, you got lucky that they raced the way they did.
Yeah. I got lucky with the restart. It's kind of early in the race, too.
Yeah.
It worked out pretty good for me.
Yeah, for sure. But man, that was incredible. Gary, you just mentioned him a second ago. Him and Josh Hinchee got together. Looked like from watching the video, I can't speak for either driver, but it looked like from watching the video that he got a little bit sideways when he went to go into the corner, and Josh was already almost to his bumper, and then they just kind of got together, and I don't know if Josh didn't let off or if he just couldn't get off of him, or I don't know. But he definitely got turned around over here and ruined his night for sure.
Well, I think Josh was just so eager to get around Gary and try to take care of some business he was trying to finish up front.
Yeah.
That maybe he just didn't even care or didn't bother to lift. I don't know what was going on, but I don't think it was intentional, but at the same time it kind of was. He was just trying to get around him right then and right there.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't, when you're out there, you don't know what the other guy's doing. He didn't know he was going to get sideways when he went in the corner. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. Now, the angle of the video, when you watch it, you can't 100% tell, because it's from the back stretch and they're looking down and you're seeing the backs of the cars.
Yeah.
So you can't give that 100%, if that's what it was. But that's what I believe. That's what I saw, when I was watching it, with my own eyes, and then watching it back on video, kind of seen the same thing there. But, I'm sure those two guys will. I know Gary was not happy. Came over here.
Oh, he was not happy at all.
He was not happy. He talked to Josh, and I was standing there when he come up, and I didn't realize what was going on, and I didn't even think about them getting together. I just backed up, got on my golf cart, and left. I was going to leave that for them to discuss there. But Gary was pretty upset, and understandably so. I'm sure those guys will talk it out and work it out because they've never really raced each other that way in the past, so I don't think that's a big issue.
No, and we still got to talk about what sparked this whole wreck fest, and that was.
Hold on. Let's not call anything a wreck fest. These guys have not wrecked really all year.
Okay, well,
they've been beating the crap out of each other, but they have not wrecked all year.
I don't know what to call it then. Beat fest don't sound right, so we'll figure out a word for it. But first official lap coming off the start.
Yeah.
West decides to take it 3 wide and knocks. I think it was Josh and Keyshawn. I think it was them two. Maybe Chris Lilly. I can't even remember. There was so much going on. I need to watch it back, but I know they were 3 wide and 3 cars were Tokyo drifting them things around 3 and 4. Josh ended up in the grass at one point, hopped the curb, and it was on from then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you're going to leave a hole for Wes, he's going to fill it.
That's a huge mistake.
I don't know what these guys expect. I mean, if you know the way a guy races, what in the hell are you doing letting him do it?
Yeah, that's what he
didn't even have to force his way. They just parted the seas. He thought, I mean, I don't know, man. You got to be, you have to race. And this is a problem that several people in this class have, and I'm not calling anybody out specifically, but you have to race the people that you're racing at their level, not at the same level of, you can't race, take nothing away from Keyshawn, but, you can't race Keyshawn Clayton the same way you race Josh Hinchee. You can't race Josh Hinchee the same way you race Wes Givens. You can't race Jaden the same way you race James Chrisley. It doesn't work.
Well, I can speak from experience. And Wes is obviously, he's got way more experience. He's a lot better at, racecraft. And it's hard to, you're focused on this one guy, and it's almost like you forget there's this other guy right behind y'all.
Well,
and then all of a sudden he's coming around you, and you're like, damn it, I forgot about that guy. Now we got to deal with him too.
100%.
And I think that's what happened is that
I would agree.
Up front, they were just so in focus of each other that they forgot Wes was pushing up right behind them. And, of course, Wes, like you said, he stuck it right in there, and there they went, drifting around 3 and 4.
Yeah, Josh was definitely not very happy about.
Oh, he was not.
The way Wes closed the door on him there, which he had done to him earlier in the year. And I mean, I literally told him. He asked Wes. He said, "Well, why'd you do that?" I said, "Because you let him." I mean, you can't. If you want the guy to stop doing something, you have to stop him. So
the problem with Wes is, and I'm trying to be as neutral as I can here.
yeah, I understand.
Wes says things, and Wes will agree with you. It's because you let me. But then Wes, I know this from personal experience, as soon as you do something about it, then he gets very upset, and he don't like you for 3 races. So you got to find a balance of, roughing Wes up a little bit, but at the same time not roughing him up too much to where you upset him. Because, I mean, let's be real here. If there's anybody that's the most experienced in, I shouldn't even say experienced. If there's anybody that wants to put you in the wall and they're going to do it, it's going to be Wes. If he's mad at you,
has the skill level
if he's mad at you and he wants your car totaled, that car's going to be totaled within 2 laps.
Well, listen, if you're out there scared, you should just park it in the infield. I mean, hit him. Move it. Jaden didn't have any problem hitting him. Hit him multiple times.
You just got to expect it to come back.
You just got to understand, it's coming back to you here in just a minute. It came back to you.
Give what you're willing to take.
100%.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm talking about. Last year, Wes told me I need to be rougher with him. I picked his whole ass end up going into 1. He didn't like it. And he left the lane open for me because he was going to give it right back. I said, I'm going to hang back. You go ahead and take that spot.
Yep. I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean, but you just got to you got to understand that, what happens next. But if you don't give it back to him, you got to understand he's going to run over to you for the rest of your time.
I just will say there's a lot of guys, and my brother included. I'm neutral on this. I can separate myself from my brother. It seems like there's a lot of people in this division that can give it, but then when they take it, they get real upset about it. And that's like I said, that's my brother included. They don't take it nearly as good as they give it.
Well, I mean, I think that's how the whole thing with Keyshawn and your brother started. I mean, yeah, your brother, shot him the bird, but I think, Keyshawn just lost his, it's something about these race car drivers when they strap their helmet on, they cut the circulation off, and they ain't got any damn brains when they get done. Okay?
You become a completely different person.
100%.
Believe it or not, Josh, my brother, is like the calmest person you'll ever meet outside of racing. I've seen this man outside of racing mad maybe 2 times in my whole life.
Yeah.
Down here at the racetrack, it was like 4 times last night.
At least 4 times.
Once you get down here to the racetrack, you're a different person.
I
Forget what happens outside of it. It's completely different.
I would agree 100%. Anything else from the race that we hadn't talked about?
Which race? Stock 4 specifically?
All
the
of
Smart Mods, the Carolina Crates?
I mean, I think we went over that pretty good. Anything else that we ain't talked about? Because, I mean, there was so much that I can't remember it all.
That's why, honestly, I'm trying to go through the Rolodex in my mind of events that happened.
Gosh, I didn't know you were old enough to know what a Rolodex was.
Hey, I know what a Rolodex was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my mother still has one.
I was getting ready to say, Daryl must have had one. That's the only reason you know. Okay?
I'm pretty sure my mom still has one.
Oh, man. But fun weekend for sure. Jaden, we'll talk a little bit about your racing career. I mean, I can remember, for those of you who don't know, this is my nephew, and he basically lived with me for the better part of 13 or 14 years. I can remember, your cardboard box race car. I mean, I guess that's where it all started, right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit earlier than that.
Well, races on the kitchen table, with the Hot Wheels and racing champions cars and such. But getting your actual start, I mean, most people don't realize you just jumped into Stock 4.
Yep. I'm pretty sure my first race, it was a little Mini Cooper, no cage, nothing, window net. It was just a seatbelt cut up and self tapped into the door. But the car was a little beat up and it wasn't very fast. But then it was another Cavalier, it was a push rod.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do much in that car. I think my first race I won was a non-winners race. There wasn't really nobody else out there. But then last year, that's when I learned a little more and went a little bit. I won a couple races and
I think you won more than a couple of races last year.
I think it's like 8.
After Noah got done, you
Yeah.
know, with his, you know, first part of the season being, you know, fairly dominant. I mean, as dominant as you can be with Wes on the track, you kind of took over at the end of the season.
Yeah. I think he's seen the competition growing, and he just had to retire real quick. He just uses the wreck as an
I'm getting
excuse.
tired of this joke. It's getting a little old.
Listen, I didn't even have to tell it that time.
Well, look, I'll be back eventually. I don't know when.
Listen, your car. I'm say this as nicely as I can. Your car looked really good without you in it. I'm sorry.
Look, the car was broke. Daryl fixed it. It has nothing to do with me. All right.
I don't know about all that.
Because when the car was good, I looked at the whole stock 4 division in their face. I pulled down their pants and I spanked their little bottoms,
Yeah.
Wes included.
Yeah. Well, definitely didn't do any of that toward the end of last year.
I did not.
So, but Chad Asbury ended up in your car. Man, it's been a while since Chad's raced. He ran pretty good for his first time in a front wheel drive.
I will say he figured it out. Those first few laps, I was worried.
Yeah, well, I think he was worried the first few laps.
Because he was taking maybe the worst lines I have ever seen in a stock 4 ever.
Yeah.
And, of course, he came in and he said, I'm trying to drive that thing like a mini stock. And I'm like, well, you can't do that.
I mean, you got to drive it like what you're used to.
But
you know?
he did surprisingly catch on pretty quick. And I think, in the next couple of races, he's going to be one to worry about, too.
Yeah, I believe Daryl, and we're talking about Daryl Maggard from Maggard Insurance, one of our sponsors here, which, I mean, he don't really work yet. That's all Christina, but, that's all another story. But Daryl, I believe Daryl told him to follow Josh, and he, figured it out.
Yeah.
Really quick. So, and, I mean, he was almost as quick as Josh when they went out there.
I don't even know if he's ever drove a front-wheel drive on a racetrack before.
Yeah, he had not.
I'm sure the whole if you get loose, stomping to the floor thing was probably like speaking Chinese to him.
Well, and the first time somebody gets into the back of him, he's going to forget that. So he's probably going around.
He got a little bit loose over here coming out of 4.
Yeah.
And I was worried for a second. I was like, oh, is he going to know what to do? But he snapped it right back around like nothing was happening.
You thought it was going to look like you in a Crown Vic, didn't you?
I did not.
I mean, those were rough times.
Yeah, it is, and I'm tired of talking about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up. It just
We wrecked. I told him Timmy's car, whatever. It's over.
Yeah,
I won the championship. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, Wes let you win that one, I'm assuming.
No, he didn't. If you count letting me win as him first race of the year, completely losing his cool.
That did happen. He got kicked out for a couple weeks.
Shout out to who was it? I don't forgot now. John Morton. Shout out to you for pissing him off. Thanks for the championship.
Listen, all he had to do was pass him to piss him off.
Yeah, that's all it takes for Wes. Wes can't handle it.
It depends. It depends on the race.
He goes like full water boy as soon as somebody passes him.
Jaden can attest to that from the other night.
Yeah. I bumped him once, and I could see him looking around, trying to see who was around him.
Yeah.
And then once he caught a glimpse, he looked at me for a second, and I was like, yeah, he's going to give it right back, and he did.
For sure. Most people probably sitting in the stands wouldn't know this, but, most of the cars out there are straight gear cars. Yeah. The one you're driving is an automatic. You've drove both. What do you do you like the automatic better, or you like the straight gear better, or what? I mean, you've turned your fastest lap in an automatic. So.
Yeah. The automatic, you can lose a lot of momentum in the corners. So you gotta enter the corners differently, trying to be faster out of the corners. Like a manual, you can keep it wound out. You can get back. You can get back on the gas and just go right back to it. You drive the automatic down there like that, it's just not going to work out as great. And you're on the 15-inch tires with like 5 inches of sidewall, so you got a lot more.
Yeah, monster truck tires.
Yeah, monster truck wheels.
At least hitting the curb doesn't matter as much.
No, you hit the curb on the 14s, you can feel it a lot more.
Oh,
the 15s, it just jerks a little bit, and you're like, what was that? You don't.
Yeah.
When I drove that car last year, I ran over the curb, and it felt like I was just hitting a little bump on the road. I was like, I didn't feel like nothing.
You prefer one over the other?
I do prefer the manual.
Yeah.
It's just being able to change gears instead of just starting off in a gear and staying there.
Right.
It's more excitement.
Yeah, I got you. It makes sense to me. I mean, But that automatic's fast, man.
It is.
I mean,
It's
it's
definitely
amazingly fast. I mean, 2 races ago when I believe you turned to 4, Josh Hinchee was on the pole. I was like, well, ain't nobody going to beat that. You were the last car to go out. And I was like, what the heck just happened here? And
I came up to Jaden's window because I was watching Race Monitor. I told him, and he didn't believe me for about 6 seconds. He was like, yeah, haha, very funny. I was like, no, look, you turned to 4 in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the fastest lap we turned that week was like a 6, maybe, if that. So we were struggling a little bit. I mean, the car was still fast, but I didn't expect a 4.
Yeah. I noticed that, nobody was as fast this week. I think the fastest lap was 5 this week. Nobody got into 4s. I believe you were in, the 6s and 7s, mostly.
There was a
which
lot
is
of heat in the
interesting.
track.
I don't know. You think that's where the modifieds were here?
That, and it was really hot all weekend, too.
Yeah.
So I think between the modifieds and the heat, I think it slowed us down a little bit, yeah.
Gotcha.
Because the cars gripped a lot more.
Right. I got you. Well, I mean, I guess you gained a couple of points, 3 points on Wes for the championship this weekend. I believe you were in 3rd. I don't know. I'd have to look at the points. I haven't sat down to do them yet, but I mean, you eyeing the championship. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I know it's going to be hard to get that done, considering how we're doing it this year with the playoffs.
with the playoff system, yeah.
Because it kind of does fall into Wes's hands. I mean, he's got a good chance of winning it.
Listen, you say that, but I mean,
you never know. You never know.
The second race Saturday night when Wes got the lead, I mean, that kind of fell into his hands too.
Yep.
I mean, that's his wheelhouse. He gets out front. I mean, you're not going to pass him, right?
Nope.
But you did.
I'm pretty sure that's maybe the second time I've ever done that. And the first time, he was in a slightly slower car. He was struggling a little bit that night.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't like that though. I mean,
Right.
he was in a fast car, and it was hard. It was hard to get by him that time. The first time, it played out a little better for me, but I really had to earn that one.
Oh yeah, you did for sure. And I mean, the fans, I was kind of worried. I ain't gonna lie. And I do this every race that's marginal, with the car count and stuff. I think to myself, is this the night that I've got to go hand out discount tickets for the next race? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I have to? Because car count's a little off. Is the racing not going to be good? Well, by the time we got to y'all's race, I was already not worried about that. But, man, by the time it was over with, I was like, they should be paying me more to leave.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
I mean, not just your battle, but, like I said, the battles behind you guys. And I want to tell you, if we'd had a few more laps, you guys were getting ready to have Josh Hinchee up there with you because he was coming.
Yep, he got there right there at the end. He was rolling on along.
That's what I'm looking at the lap times now. Everybody's fastest lap was at the beginning of the race. Josh's fastest lap was on lap 17.
Oh, 100%. I
That
believe
is
that.
when, of course, that's when he went full water boy and was maybe not even looking to win the race at that point. But yeah, and you know what? The lap times aren't that fast.
No.
For both races.
Yeah, no, they weren't.
Looks like they were a little too busy, maybe
Well,
beating the hell out of each other out there.
They definitely did a lot of that. I mean, Josh and Keyshawn exchanged some paint, which they do every race, but they in both races.
Yeah.
A little bit in the first race and a little bit more in the second race there.
Josh gave me a run for my money in the first race too on the restart before the green white checker. He had me jacked up coming out of 2, but
if he could have ever got up under you, I'm not sure you'd have won that one.
listen, I got a little close to the curb. I was worried about catching it, and I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna come out of this one, but
Yeah.
But he backed off. He didn't just drive through me, which I appreciate.
Well, I think that's why we're seeing the races we're seeing. The competition's extremely tight. I mean, I'd like to, pat myself on the back for the rules, but I won't do that. But
You just did.
I know. But you guys may not like each other all the time, but you guys seem to all respect well, maybe not Keyshawn and Josh, but everybody else seems to respect each other. And I say that, but they respect each other enough, or they would have destroyed each other by now.
Yep.
So, I mean, it seems like that class is extremely tight, but you guys have enough respect not to wreck one another.
I will say, with the crowd we've had the last 2 years,
Yeah.
the crowd is in stock 4 drivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they had been running like they were this year, we would have had 2 cars left by now.
Oh,
But
yeah.
somehow these guys are going out there running balls of the wall, beating the hell out of each other.
Yep.
And nobody has really wrecked at all.
Yeah.
We've had a couple cars skirt the wall a little bit. Gary back got half spun over there. But
Yeah.
no serious damage to any of these cars, which is honestly amazing.
The most damage to any car, I think, was James Chrisley, and that was all by himself. I guess there was some oil or something. Somebody had got something on the track, and,
Yeah.
he went for a little ride into the outside wall over here. But other than that, we ain't tearing anything up. Knock on wood here.
Couple bumpers.
I mean-
Non-important parts.
Right. Well, there's a lot of bumpers missing. So far, the last couple of races, I look down and I'm like, well, he ain't got no bumper. I'm looking at the 97 here of Gary. He ain't got no back bumper on there. The 81 ain't got no front bumper on there. Keyshawn loses a bumper every time he goes on the racetrack.
I was getting ready to say, I think he puts his bumper back on every time he pulls
Yeah.
into the track.
He needs to buy some of them heavy-duty zip ties, I think, to keep it on there.
Get some self-tapping screws. It ain't going
Josh's
nowhere.
sheet metal headlight after lap 2 was waving at the crowd every lap on the way by.
Those guys are putting in the work, man. It's been great. It's been great to watch. I have thoroughly enjoyed the stock, which I always they've been the best division for the last several years. And to be honest with you, as this year started, I was like, man, the Legends cars are going to take over as the best division, and they still might. But right now, man, those stock fours are just they're out of control. It's
In a good way.
It's almost like a controlled chaos. They are.
Yeah.
Every lap is crazy.
I'm just waiting. I want to know when the first, and knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I want to know how deep we get before we have our first major accident, because it has not happened at all so far.
I just put up 200 to win, doubled the purse for this weekend. Got a few bonuses out there.
Yeah, you're tossing gas on the fire.
Man, when you got it going good, you got to keep it going, okay?
We're doing a lot better than last year when, shout out to Josh, about totaled his car on the first lap of the season last year.
Yeah, he didn't know about that dip over there.
Apparently not. He was trying to give her the beans a little too hard.
He found out real fast about that dip, though.
He felt that broken collarbone he had.
Battered, dragging his battery around. That was a good one.
Well, we've made a lot of progress since then, the first lap of last year.
100%.
The whole division has made a lot of progress.
Oh, listen, it's like, Chris Meeks, one of the things he said to me 2 races ago was, he said, this class has kind of evolved without me here. It's evolved past me at the moment. So, and I'm sure those guys will get to work and they'll figure that out and they'll get right back in the battle. But, realistically, and I hear people say it all the time, that class is, to be stock, it's a lot faster than it probably should be.
We're rolling.
For sure.
The competition in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Has about 17-8 2 years ago. You're winning almost.
You'd be top
You're
dog.
winning every other race. This year, 17-8, you're like 6th place back here.
Yeah.
You're just another racer.
Yep.
It's insane.
And, you've got, on any given week, you've got 5, 6, 7 guys who can win the race.
Yeah.
Well,
It's all them Ecotechs out here.
yeah.
You might have to rename the division to Stock Ecotech. We gained 2 more this weekend. Well, if you include mine. We gained 1 more.
Yeah. Well, that would be 2 more over, you're retired, so we ain't talking about that.
My car's still out there. I
Your
don't care what you
car's
say.
out there, running much better than when you was in it. But, I don't even know what the heck I was just getting ready. I was getting ready to
Yeah,
ask
see,
you the
that's what you
question
get
here.
for talking trash.
I get to talking so much
Now,
smack about
apologize, and
you.
you might remember what you were going to say.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Well, good. I hope you don't remember.
You know what? I'm definitely not doing that. I do remember what the question was, and I didn't need to apologize to you to get it. The 50 pounds, you got to start in the back again. What do you think that's going to do? It hadn't slowed Wes down. He's intentionally slowed himself down in the first race of each night, trying to keep himself from winning to have to add more weight. Is that the strategy you're going to go with, or are you just going to go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to be the man?
It depends on how the race plays out. If I get the opportunity to win, I don't think I'm just gonna let it go. But tire wear, I don't think that's gonna change nothing.
Yeah.
I could run both practices, qualifying, and both races on 1 tire and still be fine. So I don't think the weight will affect that too much. But
Yeah.
Maybe the handling might have to change some tire pressures, but I don't think it'd be too bad.
You might have to make a rule about them big old monster truck tires he's running. No wonder it don't affect the tire wear that much.
I mean, listen, the advantages of an automatic, man.
Well, that's one of the only ones, apparently.
No, I mean, getting to victory lane is one of the
I
advantages.
swear that car is a unicorn. I mean, we saw another
Exactly.
Ecotec automatic out here. And sorry, buddy, you didn't do that great.
Hold on. No. You saw another one in the last race with Austin Williams out there, and he could have easily won the first race of the night.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
And that car sat for, what, year and a half maybe?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it came from sitting in the shop on
That poor
jack
thing was
stands
being
to-
neglected for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I tell you right now, automatics is the way. If I'm looking, because they're easier to get.
Yeah, everyone's looking for the manuals. You don't have
Just
to.
buy an automatic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason. There is no reason to buy anything else. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't.
Oh, I think in 5 years, that's what this division is going to be. It's going to be almost all automatics out there.
That's great, man. My favorite division here back in the day was the pure stock division that Mike Looney and Doodle Lang and Dean Canaday and Doug Williams and Matt Taylor and Joe Taylor and all those guys raced in, and they were automatics. They were fantastic.
What cars were they running?
They were like street stocks, old Monte Carlos
got
and
you.
stuff like that. They were fantastic, man. I mean, it was.
I wish those cars were still around, man. That's my favorite division of all time. I love them street stocks, but there ain't a whole lot. I mean, the street stocks today, they're basically late models on stock chassis.
I tried to pay $1,000 to win last year and got one. So
yeah,
I mean,
it's sad to see what it's become.
it's definitely a struggle for sure. We were talking about the automatics and manual, and I asked you, whether you preferred one over the other. And you kind of mentioned this a little bit, how you got to race it a little bit different, and it's more momentum based. And does that make it harder to go past a guy like Wes when he's in a manual and you're in an automatic, and maybe you have to shove it in there when you don't really want to? I mean, is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, and especially on restarts. Like
Yeah.
Unless, even when you're in charge of the restarts, you go whenever you want when you're inside the restart zone. It's still, once you get that jump, if they get a jump right there with you too, I mean, they're going to stick beside you, at least going into the corner. In a manual, you get a much better pull off the start. But so racing someone like Wes, it's going to be hard to hold him off, especially if you get a restart or something. But well, the automatics, they handle really good. Maybe better than a manual, I'm not sure, but it handles the inside line so much better than a manual does.
Yeah.
I think
Makes
it has
sense.
a lot to do with them tires you're running on there. Because that is one of the first things I noticed when I got in that car, is that it hangs, you can hang it right there at the curb so much better than you could in our manuals with the 14-inch tires on there.
I mean, you got Josh Brown. He wasn't here yesterday. He'd have been in the mix of all that craziness. But you got him. He's on 15s too. But he's a manual.
And a manual. That's, yeah.
And I'm wondering if, he sticks with those 15s because of, the advantages that you mentioned, how it handles and all that. Because it does look like his car handles really good.
Yeah, in the corners, he's really quick.
Yeah.
Going in, coming out of the corners, he's fairly quick. But going into the corners and, like, off the center, his car handles pretty good.
I mean, because in that automatic, I mean, you're not getting sideways.
No.
In them at all. I mean, unless you get hit by Wes over here.
Yeah.
But and it kind of Josh is the same way. He doesn't go in flying sideways like Wes and all the other guys do.
Yeah, and it's weird because, the car don't slide a whole lot, like you just said, but it also don't push because a lot of times, if you're not sliding, the car's tighter, you're not going to come off the corner as good. Well, the car, it don't push a lot. It comes off the corner just fine.
Well, for you, $400 on the line this weekend, $200 each race. Is that going to make you race harder? Or does the money matter?
I mean, we're really not doing it for the money. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you might break even, you might not. But, I mean, that's not the point. I mean, as much fun as we're having out here, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
So I mean, the money don't really matter. I mean, it's nice and all, but I think the plaque's even better.
Your car owner would have answered that totally differently.
Yeah.
He would have said, "Yes, I'm going to be racing much harder this weekend. Don't get in my way."
I think these guys are so nuts. It don't matter if you put $5 to win on the line. They're going to go out there and they go beat the bumpers off these things.
I think either way, the racing's going to be the same.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's going to be really, really intense. I'm looking forward to it. I hope we get some some of the people that haven't been racing that much. Maybe Chris Meeks will get back up here and get his dialed in. And Adam Metzger, man, I miss Adam being in the field for sure. And there's other people that could be could end up in the field, and we need them here. And
yep.
I want hopefully this money draw them out. Typically money doesn't, but we're trying. I mean give it a chance and see what happens here. Anything else we need to talk about heading into what will be the pawn shop Second Amendment night coming up this weekend?
I think we got everything. I'm trying to, like I said, go through the Rolodex. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think we got to everything, though.
On tap this weekend, we'll have twins for the Stock 4s, twins for the Legends, and twins for the Mini Stocks. So Wes will have two chances to either break or win. So we'll see how that goes. Be some other contenders back. I know Josh Phillips didn't make it because he had to go to work at 2:30 in the morning, even though we ended up at 9:30, and he would have been just fine. So we got he'll be back. Hopefully Stonewall's got to be really close to being back. It should be a good night of action. And the Legends, I mentioned it earlier, some of the guys that will be back, Scott Heath, and I think Nathan Wheat and Kyle Klingenpeel, and maybe some other travelers coming in. So should be a good night.
Ain't going to be many divisions, but I'm telling you, I think this weekend it's going to be a banger.
Got 200 free shirts that the pawn shop will be giving out for Second Amendment night Saturday when you come in. So first 200 paid fans will get a free T-shirt this weekend. Should be a good night to be here. A lot of good action on the track. I believe they're going to raffle off AR-15. I don't know if they're charging for it or if they're giving free entries to people or what they're doing. I don't have any idea, but they'll be raffling that off for Second Amendment night, and hopefully we can celebrate, have another good podcast next week because of all the action we're going to see this Saturday.
Oh, I guarantee it. If it spilled over this weekend, it's definitely going to spill over a little bit more next weekend.
There's a lot brewing there, and not just in Stock 4. The Legends, of course, Ethan and Chris Lilly, they like each other, but they don't really like each other, if you know what I'm saying. And in the Mini Stocks, having Wes in the midst of all that just adds to the flavor.
Should be a good one.
Should be. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week's Pit Chatter podcast. We'll see you here Saturday for the Pawn Shop Second Amendment night. Until then, we're out of here.
Wes is a bum.